In the world of professional sports, there exists a phenomenon so extraordinarily rare, so breathtakingly uncommon, that it graces an entire generation only a handful of times. It is a moment of pure, unfiltered alchemy. It happens when you take two completely and fundamentally opposed philosophies of combat, two entirely different biomechanical frameworks, two fiercely contrasting psychological profiles, and you lock them inside the most spectacular, historic, and unforgiving gladiatorial arena the sport has to offer. You strip away the outside noise, you ignore the seedings and the rankings, you clear away the crushed red brick dust, and you force these two titans to solve each other, to crack each other open, to find an answer to a puzzle that may have no clean solution. Today, the majestic center court at the Internazionale BNL d'Italia in the heart of Rome is not merely hosting a professional tennis match. It is hosting an absolute earth-shattering collision of elemental forces, a meeting of immovable stone and unstoppable fire, a confrontation between two women who represent everything that makes this sport worth watching in the first place. For anyone tuning in early, pouring that first cup of coffee, rubbing the sleep from their eyes, and turning their gaze toward the screen, understand this clearly and completely right now. You are not just watching a game, you are watching a battle of wills, a war of nerves, a test of the human body and the human spirit, pushed to the absolute outermost edge of endurance. On one side of the net stands the unstoppable, terrifying, and utterly apocalyptic force of pure unyielding first strike power, the world number 2, the second seed, the reigning Australian Open champion, the Wimbledon conqueror, the ice-cold and absolutely ruthless queen of Kazakhstan, Elena Rybakina. On the exact opposite side of that net stands the ultimate immovable object, the 7th seed, the impenetrable defensive wall, the two-time champion of this very city of Rome, the hardened and battle-scarred veteran who has seen everything this sport can throw at a human being and has never once looked away, the absolute beating heart and soul of Ukrainian sport, Elina Svitolina. Stop whatever you are doing right now, put the phone down, do not look away for even a single fleeting second. Because what is about to unfold on this red clay is not going to be a beautiful, elegant, breezy exhibition of casual shot-making and graceful winners. It is going to be a brutal, suffocating, lung-burning war of absolute attrition, a match with the very real potential to permanently break the physical and mental resolve of whoever blinks first. To truly comprehend the sheer overwhelming magnitude of this encounter, you must first understand the ground beneath their feet. You must understand what this place means, what it carries, what it demands of every player who dares to step onto it. This is not just another tournament stop on the calendar. This is Rome, the eternal city, the Foro Italico, the ultimate grueling and blood-soaked proving ground in the final weeks before Roland Garros. Surrounded by colossal ancient marble statues of athletes from a bygone era, surrounded by towering umbrella pines that cast long creeping shadows across the clay as the afternoon deepens, this stadium is not just a venue. It is a pressure cooker. It is a cauldron. It has a soul, and that soul demands excellence and suffering in equal measure. Both of these women know exactly what it takes to survive the madness of the Italian capital, because both of these women have already conquered it. Elena Rybakina claimed this title in 2023, standing on this exact court and completely dismantling the established hierarchy of the sport, proving to the entire watching world that her massive bone-crushing flat power could successfully translate even to the slowest and heaviest surface on the WTA Tour. She proved she could hit straight through the dirt, straight through the resistance, straight through whatever the clay tried to take from her. Elena Svitolina, however, possesses a much deeper, more profound, and far more intimate relationship with this Italian capital. She went back-to-back here, claiming the crown in 2017 and then again in 2018. Svitolina knows every single microscopic grain of this red clay. She knows how the dirt shifts beneath the blistering, unforgiving afternoon Mediterranean sun. She knows how the clay grips the tennis ball when the humidity rises and the shadows begin to swallow the stadium whole. And more importantly than anything else, she knows exactly how to drag her opponents into the deepest, darkest, most physically agonizing and soul-crushing trenches of a clay court war. And she knows how to keep them there until they have nothing left to give. If we perform a forensic tactical examination of the biomechanical warfare that is about to dictate the rhythm of this match, we are presented with the most beautiful and brutal contrast in all of professional tennis. Elena Rybakina is a towering 6-foot architectural masterpiece engineered for absolute unmitigated destruction. Her entire game, her entire philosophy of tennis is built around the serve plus one. She possesses a serving motion so incredibly fluid, so mechanically flawless, so perfectly synchronized from the ground up through every joint and muscle in her body, that she can routinely launch 120-mile-per-hour missiles into the deepest and tightest corners of the service box without showing a single visible sign of physical effort. There is no wasted movement. There is no excess tension. There is only a smooth and devastating transfer of kinetic energy from the clay beneath her feet to the strings of her racket to the helpless yellow ball screaming across the net. When that ball comes back to her, she does not want to run. She does not want to grind. She does not want to engage in a track meet that lasts 25 shots and drains the legs and the lungs. She steps aggressively inside the baseline, uses her massive wingspan, and hits the ball incredibly flat with the trajectory of a laser beam piercing through the thick Roman air and snapping violently off the court surface before her opponent can even properly plant their feet and prepare. Rybakina wants every single point to end within 4 shots. She wants to dictate the first strike, rip the racket out of her opponent's hands with sheer power, assert her physical dominance, and calmly walk back to her towel before the Italian crowd has even had a chance to collectively exhale. She wants to inflict immediate and overwhelming trauma on the scoreboard and on the mind of the woman across the net. Elina Svitolina's entire tactical existence on this red clay court today is dedicated entirely to preventing that exact scenario from ever materializing. Svitolina is not going to outserve the world number 2. She is not going to outpower her. She is not going to hit more aces or crack more clean highlight reel winners. But what Elina Svitolina is going to do is make Elena Rybakina suffer, physically and mentally, for every single solitary point she manages to earn. Svitolina is one of the greatest, most elite, and most extraordinarily intelligent defensive movers in the entire history of the modern game. She possesses an incredibly low center of gravity and a core made of pure iron, allowing her to slide effortlessly into the deepest and dustiest corners of the court with a grace that borders on supernatural. She can sprint at full speed, slam her outside foot into the sliding clay, plant her posture perfectly with zero wasted motion, and redirect Rybakina's overwhelming pace back with unbelievable precision and depth. Svitolina plays tennis with heavy calculated margin. She does not skim the net. She does not gamble on low percentage lines. She hits the ball with deep looping violent topspin, ensuring that it clears the net by several feet and then drops like a stone, landing mere inches from the baseline and kicking aggressively upward off the dirt. This specific trajectory creates a geometric nightmare for the tall Kazakhstani. Rybakina wants the ball sitting up perfectly in her strike zone, hovering right around waist height, suspended in the air for a fraction of a second so she can step forward and drive completely horizontally through the back of the ball with her full body weight behind it. Svitolina is going to use the slow gripping gritty nature of the Roman clay to ensure that the ball never once sits in that comfortable zone. The Ukrainian is going to pump heavy kicking topspin that bites into the red dirt and forces the ball to jump violently toward Rybakina's shoulders and her neck, forcing her to abandon her natural leg drive and muscle the heavy clay court ball using only her arms and her shoulders in an awkward defensive position high above her natural contact point. Hitting a flat aggressive offensive shot from above shoulder height is the most physically demanding, unnatural, and exhausting movement in all of tennis. Center court in Rome is essentially a massive sunken bowl completely surrounded by heavy marble, ancient stone, and towering concrete grandstands on all sides. This unique and ancient architecture acts like an oven, trapping the heat and the thick humid air down at court level, while the rest of the city breathes freely above it. As the match progresses into the early afternoon under the relentless Roman sun, the top layer of the clay will become bone dry, fast, and slick. These drier conditions favor the aggressive, penetrating first strike power of Rybakina, as the ball slides through just a fraction faster and Svitolina has a fraction less time to recover. But tennis is an outdoor sport subject to the wild and unpredictable whims of nature. If a cool breeze picks up off the Tiber River, or if the court maintenance crew waters the clay heavily between sets to settle the red dust, the surface will transform instantly and completely. The court will become thick, slow, and sticky. In heavy, damp conditions, hitting clean outright winners past a defender of Svitolina's caliber becomes a nearly impossible task. The tennis ball will absorb the wet red dust and moisture into its felt, becoming heavier and deader on the racket strings with every passing game. It will feel like hitting a shot put. And those are the exact conditions that favor Svitolina enormously, giving her the time and the opportunity to extend rallies to 15 and 20 and 25, agonizing shots, constantly testing the lungs and the legs and the heart of the taller Rybakina, making every single point feel like climbing a steep mountain with a boulder strapped firmly to your back. Imagine the nerve-shredding tension building in those locker rooms beneath the stadium right now. Elena Rybakina is sitting in absolute silence, her ice-cold demeanor projecting total unshakable calm. She has her noise-canceling headphones on, her eyes closed, meticulously visualizing the geometry of the service box over and over again. She is rehearsing the ball toss in her mind thousands of times. She knows that she carries the most dangerous weapon in women's tennis today. She knows that if she executes her game plan flawlessly, if she hits her spots and keeps her unforced errors manageable, there is nothing Svitolina or anyone else on this planet can do to stop her. The match is entirely on her racket. She wants to walk out of that tunnel, step onto the bright red clay, establish her terrifying dominance within the first 15 minutes, and completely shatter the spirit of the Ukrainian before the match even has a chance to find its competitive rhythm. She wants silence. She wants a clinical and ruthless execution. Meanwhile, Elina Svitolina is going through explosive and sweat-drenched warm-ups on the opposite side of the facility. She is not sitting still. She is bouncing lightly on her toes, feeling the coiled kinetic energy building in her powerful legs. She is hitting medicine balls against the concrete wall with violent and aggressive intent. She is thinking about the countless unseen and agonizing hours she has spent sweating and grinding and pushing her body to its absolute limit on empty practice courts in blistering heat, preparing for exactly this moment. Prayed for not just Tony Nieuwenving 100 Jane, a me really biggin, had a view cup sigayeth right, leave for nine, where use it a one of umpots, mounty cementi turns out, and we look with a nosteritic, toll them still email. Svitolina is completely unbothered by the number 2 seed printed next to Rybakina's name on the draw sheet. She does not see an unbeatable superstar. She does not see an untouchable aura. She sees a human being with a beating heart and lungs that require oxygen. She sees a complex physical puzzle waiting to be solved and dismantled piece by piece over the next 3 hours. Svitolina knows that she is going to have to suffer enormously today. She knows she is going to have to run side to side until her lungs feel like they are bleeding. She knows her legs will scream for mercy long before the match is over, but she is ready for the pain. She welcomes it with open arms. She is a modern gladiator stepping into the blood-stained arena, fully and completely prepared to drag the pristine Ice Queen into the burning center of the fire and see who survives. This is not just a quarterfinal tennis match. To call it merely a tennis match is a profound and total disservice to everything we are about to witness together. This is a monumental and high-stakes collision between an unstoppable offensive force in peak physical form and an immovable, deeply rooted defensive wall armed with an impenetrable psychological fortress. It is flat laser beam power against heavy looping, suffocating defense. It is ice-cold logic against burning emotional fire. It is the ghost of the 2023 champion against the ghost of the two-time champion from 2017 and 2018. Thup 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 thup. The massive and passionate Italian crowd is flooding into their seats in the sun-drenched stadium, murmuring and pointing and vibrating with collective anticipation. The chair umpire is adjusting the microphone high above the net. The ball kids are stationed perfectly still at the corners, gripping their towels. The time for analysis and prediction and talking heads and expert opinion is officially and permanently over. The players are emerging now from the dark shadows of the tunnel. They are stepping out into the blinding Roman sunlight. The roar of the Italian crowd is absolutely deafening. A massive wave of sound crashing off the ancient marble statues and the concrete grandstands that have witnessed decades of glory and heartbreak on this red clay. Clear your schedule for the next 3 hours. Turn the volume all the way up, lock the door, do not let anything pull your eyes from the screen because the brutal and beautiful battle for a place in the semifinals of the Internazionale BNL d'Italia is beginning right now, and it is going to be an absolute cinematic masterpiece of physical suffering, tactical brilliance, and raw human survival played out on the most famous red clay in the world. The warm-up jackets are coming off. The bright yellow ball is being tossed high into the hot Roman air for the very first time. The racket is drawing back, the stadium is falling into a dead and absolute silence. Let the war on the crushed red clay officially begin.